when you do hard things, that's how you get stronger. And the military forces you to do a lot of hard things, put yourself in very uncomfortable positions and seeing how you're going to respond. What is your breaking point? And so what the military has taught me through all my training is how to absolutely thrive in chaos. And when things are hard, it actually is more fun for me.
Riley Tejcek has accomplished a lot in a short period of time. The 28-year-old is a captain in the Marines. She's a former collegiate softball player, and right now, as this podcast is released, she's competing to make the Team USA Olympic bobsled team. If she gets to the games, she would be the first female Marine to compete in the Olympics. Also, last week, she released her first children's book where she wants to empower young girls.
It's the story of a little girl who has a school assignment, and it's not what do you want to do when you grow up, it's what do you want to be. And that also, looks for characteristics of being bold and courageous and putting myself out there and being kind.
My name is Josh Rowe, and this is Tomorrowtown, Tennessee.
I just finished my workout. I'm here at Lake Placid at the Olympic Training Center.
Oh, you are? Okay. Wow.
Yeah, so it's...
Look at that.
Yeah, here training with World Championships, getting ready for Olympic team trials. So that's why I'm not in uniform right now. Normally I am, obviously. And I also have my first book signing today. I launched my children's book, which is super exciting. And I have my first book signing today out in town. So
when did you launch the book?
Technically today.
Oh, this is the day.
Today is launch day. Yeah.
I feel honored that you make time for me on launch day. So thank you for doing that.
I know. I wanted to, and when we're not sliding, well, we are sliding later. So the mornings is what's best. And I obviously am trying to do a lot of news stuff, especially with you being in Chattanooga, trying to talk to different people all over to get like the news about your book. They say most people never sell more than 200 copies. I've hit that, but it's to have impact all over. Okay. And so, I have my pockets of communities all over the United States, but I don't have a Tennessee presence. So I was like, I had to make time.
Now you do. Yeah. So that's a great place to start. Tell us about the book. Why'd you write it? What is it about? Tell us all the things.
So the book is called If You Can Dream It, Be It. It's for children around ages 4 to 8. But actually, I hope that not only children read it, but parents read it to their children, because I'm trying to hit both of those demographics. The reason why I wrote the book is because I want to make mass impact. And impact is like my strong word. And when I look at a way to impact people, there's so much inspiration that comes out from storytelling. And in the military, we inspire people so much by the story of the Marine Corps and the rich history. And that's what gets people excited. So there's so much to share about real stories. So I wanted to hit this younger generation because I knew that young women needed it. And what I mean by that is a part of my story is I never thought I could be a female Marine because I never saw a woman in uniform. Now, I grew up in the Midwest. I grew up in Indiana. It makes sense. There's not really military bases there, but I never saw that. And so I'm like, never again will I allow another female to not be able to realize that there's a space for them, not only in the military, but in professional athletics, and to be a pageant winner, and to go on game shows and do media, and to write a book, and to do all these things. So the whole point of the story is really, if you can dream it, if you can see someone who's done something that maybe looks like you, or you can relate to them, then you can really blossom into being it. So the whole story, and just kind of summarizing it, is the story of a little girl who has a school assignment. And it's not what do you want to do when you grow up, it's what do you want to be. And that also, looks for characteristics of being bold and courageous and putting myself out there and being kind. Very, very overall holistic person. And she interviews people that she cares about. It's a true story. People in my life. My dad was a professional baseball player. My grandfather was in the military. My sister's a pageant winner. And it's about her interviewing these people, realizing I want to do all of these things. But some of her friends tell her, well, you can only do one. Like, you have to pick one thing. And it's the story of actually you can do anything that you want to be. And people have already paved that way for you. And because you've seen someone else do it, you then too can do it. So it's really exciting. I'm obviously biased because I'm proud of it, but I think it sends a really good message for men and women that are young, but also adults, that your children are watching everything that you do and how you act and how you carry yourself, and the profession that you choose actually plays more of a role in your children's minds than you think from a young age.
Man, that is good stuff. Where can we get a copy? Where can folks go to learn more, to buy one, all those things?
Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and through my publishing company. I'm working on getting them into bigger other stores. So, the goal and dream is to get in like Walmart and Target, everywhere. But we'll see what the Lord has planned.
Tell me this before we go any further. How old are you?
I'm 28.
You're 28. So tell me about that, right? I don't know, 28-year-olds who've accomplished all the things that you have and are, and all those things. What is driven? What drives you? What makes you want to tackle all the various things?
It's my faith is the backbone behind everything. So I'm a very strong Christian woman, and I wasn't always this way, but I believe my faith has given me a sense of purpose, which then allows me to have discipline and allows myself to dream and strive and put myself out there. And a big thing I talk about is fear, and fear to fortitude is a big, what I do public speaking on. That's like my catch line. And I think what happens so often is people have purpose that they feel that's put on their heart. They have passion. They have something that drives them, that makes them want to wake up and get after it in the morning. But not many people are walking in it, whether or not that's because maybe it's never been done before. Maybe it's because you don't think you're qualified. Maybe you're underqualified and you just haven't put yourself out there, and you might fail just trying. And so for me, the way I decided to live my life is I'm a very high achiever. I feel like God called me here, and he puts purposes on my heart or things that motivate me, inspire me. And I just want to pursue them. And I pursue it without fear. That doesn't mean fear doesn't exist. That means I don't let fear cripple me. So for example, I'm 28 years old. I was a Division I collegiate softball player. I met a Marine recruiter kind of by chance at the age of 18. I never thought being a female Marine officer was possible. At the time, only 4% of officers were women. Not a lot, quote unquote, looked like me. Maybe we're not as feminine and Christian. I don't curse. I still this day don't drink caffeine, right? So not the very Marine Corps characteristics, but I did it. And then I decided to try out for the sport of bobsled at 22 years old. I've never doing that sport in my entire life. 4 years later, I've competed in 2 world championships. I've won a gold medal, and I'm ranked top 25 in the world. And I do not have a background in English. I say y'all, which my parents yell at me for, but I wrote a book, and I was able to get that book published, which only 1% of people do. And then I was able to win a pageant. Why would I do that? Because there's an opportunity. It was a military pageant, so it was more around community service and stuff. But I walked into it. I have been on 2 TV shows, 2 game shows, to include Family Feud, which is a very big one. People are like, how did that happen? It's like, I put myself out there. I saw a desire. I wanted to have that experience with my family. So all to say, these opportunities are open for every single person. There's nothing special about me other than I don't let fear hold me back. I'm disciplined, I'm driven, and I won't take no for an answer. I'll find a way to make it yes. And if it is truly like a hard no, I pivot into something that is a yes.
There's so many things I want to ask about and that entire answer, but let's start with where we started. Tell me about and this is kind of not what I plan on talking about today, but tell me about your faith journey a little bit. And I asked this specifically because there's a friend in town Marine Corps veteran, who's a pastor. And, I've asked him about that. And he goes, oh, yeah, but when I was in the Marines, this was not who I was, And I think we all go through stages in life, find our way through whatever it is. So tell me that part of your story, your faith journey, because you said you've not always had the faith you have today.
I, like a lot of people, was raised Catholic, and then didn't feel like I had like a connection. I knew there was a God. I didn't know how to really access him. I went because my parents told me to. I went to Sunday school. But quickly, like a lot of people, when sports started really getting serious, tournaments was Friday night, Saturday, Sunday, championship Sunday. So being a softball player, especially, that went out the window once I was 8, 9 years old because we were playing all the time. Now, we were more than just like the Christmas, Easter. It was whenever we could, we went to church, but I really stepped into my faith in college. So in college, everyone, you're 18 years old, you're trying to find yourself. And I, for 2 years, did not know Christ, freshman, sophomore year, and felt like something was missing in the sense of like, I was achieving all of these things. Like my resume as a freshman was like really impressive from a very humble way, right? Like 4.0 GPA, starting freshman, working jobs, internship on the Hill, like just like all these like really big things, but I didn't feel fulfilled on the inside. And so I kept thinking, if I just hit this next award, this next achievement, finally, I will then feel fulfilled. And I couldn't figure it out. And so it wasn't until one of my teammates was like, hey, I think you should come to like church with me. And I'm like, man, I've done that growing up. I don't have really good memories. Right. And she's like, just try it. And I got to the point, I'm like, well, I've tried all these other things. And I went to just a non-denominational Christian church, and I walked in the door and I just was like crying midway through the message. And I just felt like my heart being pulled, and I felt like there was something bigger than me that was in play. And I started exploring more and more of my faith. And the next thing you know, within 2 years, I've dedicated my life to Christ. I changed the way I spoke. I don't curse. The way I dress, the people I associated myself with. And I was part of the leadership team for Fellowship of Christian Athletes, starting that at my university. And it was crazy. And my whole life like shift from there. So when I was going through the Marine Corps process, I had my faith, and my faith is what brought me through. And my faith is what actually connected me to so many other people in the Marines. And it was this purpose of like, pain is temporary and your suffering is going to be great, but for like a greater purpose. And we can unite people by like loving them. And so in the military, people don't think of the military as being love, right? Like I wouldn't necessarily say that's a characteristic, but me being in the military, I'm able to work out of love for my country, love for my Marines, love for, my faith and what that means, and walking forward into my role as an officer. And so I feel like it has been the backbone. And I've also felt like, because I've been a little bit more vocal about my faith in the military, I'm seeing more and more people come. So we do have Bible studies, right? Spirituality is a big part that we've learned of the warfighter, is whatever that spirituality looks like that's a key pillar that the Marine Corps especially has a lot of emphasis on. And so I think a lot of people need that when they go through hard things or they see things in the military, like whether in combat or out of combat. And it's been the reason why I have all of the things I have. I will say a quick caveat. It does not mean my life has been easy. It does not mean that there has not been suffering, because trust me, there has been. But I've been given a peace that surpasses all understanding, that even in the midst of the bad times, like I have hope, and I know that there's a reason for everything, and what's on this world and the actions that I make are important, but it's nothing that can relate to the goodness of the kingdom of heaven that we'll walk into at some point.
Thank you for sharing that. I think that's powerful, and I think folks need to hear that message a lot. I mean, you took off on some different important key points there that I would love to get into, but I don't keep you all day. So let's talk about bobsledding. Like you said, I saw a video where you were talking about, I think you saw like a virtual combine, and you said you were 22. So this is fascinating to me. I guess let's just start here. How did that process work? I'd never heard of a virtual bobsled combine till I saw your video. How many people, show up and try to compete for that? What is that process?
So COVID changed a lot of things, obviously, which is where the whole virtual sense came into a lot of companies and stuff. So why you've never heard of it is because it's a newer thing, relatively. So background is the sport of bobsled is incredible. It's awesome, but it's very small and it's a very niche community. Majority of the time, people don't bobsled at a young age because of the G-forces and the head and neck trauma. Makes sense. So we don't really see people going to the sport until later on in life. So just like the movie Cool Runnings, bobsled is very, very known for bringing in other Division I or top level athletes and transforming them into bobsled athletes. So that's what happened to me, and that's what happens to a lot of other people. So we kind of cast this net with a combine, very similar to the NFL combine that people are familiar with, right? You want to take an athlete and just look at their basic raw athletic abilities. So we look at sprints, jumps, weightlifting, overall athleticism. What was your prior sport? How are you as a person, an athlete, teammate? So that's basically what it was how fast can you run, jump, sprint, lift, do plyometrics? What are you a natural athlete? Show us some footage of you and your sport prior, and we'll see if you just pass the basic eye test as an athlete. Because the sport of bobsled, you are moving a 400-pound sled down the ice at extreme temperatures, at extreme speeds, and it's a sport that is not made for everyone. It is a contact sport, even though it doesn't seem like it. And not only that, it's a sport that doesn't have a lot of money, requires a lot of commitment, and generally you are broke and poor, but you do it for the love of the country and the love of sport. So not a lot of people are like, yeah, like, let's do it. So essentially, throughout the year, we'll have these combines, and they're online now. And we've actually found out that's a way to like cast that wider net. So people submit their videos. If you pass a certain level of an eye test, you then get invited to come out to Lake Placid, the Olympic Training Center, which is where I am right now, and actually go through what we call a rookie camp. And your rookie camp, you're really going to get an idea for the sport for the most part. You're going to feel what it feels like to push a sled. We're going to see, do you even have the ability? Can you transform that raw athleticism into something you've never done before? And then we normally take people as a brakeman, the back position, and then sometimes eventually take them into becoming a pilot. So that's what I am. I'm a pilot. I drive the bobsled. It's a little bit different for men and women, depending on the different positions, but that's essentially how you get involved in the sport. But I will say there's a good amount of people that put in for it. Out of every rookie camp, maybe 25% make it the first year. And then when my rookie camp, there's only 2 of us to this day that are still here actively competing in the sport.
I think that's fascinating. That are you doing 14th? Is that what I saw? Is that where you are? You're in the world?
I'm in the top 20.
It's in the top 20. Still, regardless. I mean, to go from I've never done this sport, the 22, to be elite at your sport is kind of, I don't know. It makes me think of like, okay, how many of us do have talents that we don't even realize, that we've never even tried, we've never even thought about. Tell me how that's gone. Because like you said, you grew up an athlete. You were in the Marine Corps when you tried.
Yes.
Bobsledding. So you knew you had toughness and you had all the things that Marines have. And so you have a lot of the intangibles, but actually knowing, I'm sure you didn't know at the time, but actually going through the process and finding out, I'm actually pretty good at this. Oh, wait, I'm really good at this. How does that work?
So I was an athlete my whole life. My dad being a professional athlete, me being a softball player, I knew what it was like to compete, and I love competition. Even like in a game of Uno, like I take no prisoners. I don't care how old you are. So I have like that competitive drive, and I love training and seeing what's the level of, what is my ceiling? How high can I get? How fast, strong, etc. So when I got to the fleet in the Marine Corps, I guess I was like 23. I just hit Camp Pendleton for the first time. I had been functioning my whole life with goals, right? For college athletics, getting to the Marine Corps, getting my MOS, getting to the duty station I wanted. But then I had achieved every single goal that I set out for. I think this happens to people at different times in their lives. You have these big goals, going to law school, running a marathon, getting a real estate license. I don't know, whatever that is. And then you hit it. And then people go one of 2 ways. You either redirect and set new goals, or you become complacent. And not that you achieving that goal doesn't mean you can't celebrate that and live in that and relish in it. That's not what I'm saying. But it's what do you do after it? So that's the point of life I hit. I was waking up and I was like, I achieved everything I set out for myself. Where is that discipline going to come from? And I was like, I need to find it. I need to find it somewhere. And so in my military career, my thought process was as early on as lieutenant, like I was going to deploy and I really wanted to. Well, plot twist, I was in a non-deployable unit. They're like, you're not deploying. And I'm like, you're kidding. So all my peers are deploying, right? Something that I really, really wanted. So it was COVID and I was in California. So everything was shut down. So I was like, it's up to me to create a path. It's up to me to find something. And in a time when everyone was shutting down and moving away, I wanted to explore and open up again and take advantage of where people were being, quote unquote, maybe lazy. And so it was then that I remembered that I had an introduction to the sport of bobsled back in college because a female alumni who was a softball player was a bobsled athlete. And I had met her after she had won silver in 2018 in Pyeongchang. So I had been following them, and then I had saw, just so happened on email and social media, that they were having this virtual combine because of COVID. And I was like, I was like, God had already put that on my heart. So backtrack, 2018, I was a junior in college. I'm 17 years old maybe. And I know that my goal at this time was the Marine Corps. And I meet this bobsledder and I'm listening to her speak, and I'm like so drawn, like my mouth is just like wide open listening to her saying, the grit, the determination, what it takes to be a bobsled athlete, how it's freezing temperatures. And when you crash at 90 miles an hour and it hurts and it sucks, but you just keep going and it's for honor, glory, and for your country. And I'm just like eating up everything she had to say. So much so that I said to a teammate next to me, in another life, I would be a bobsledder. Swear it. And then I kind of let it go. And then it hit me. I'm sitting there and I'm like, well, I said in another life. Why not this life? Like, timing's maybe right now. At the time, the timing was not right. Now I'm like, well, why not? And so I decided to take that chance. And I had a command that supported me that was incredible. The military was working on port starboard schedules, or like if you had a close contact, it was like that 14-day quarantine. Well, the tryout was 14 days. And so I was able to say, hey, sir, if I'm able to go to this, I'll work remotely. I'll do everything as if I had like a close contact. I'll take personal time off. Like, I feel like I have to see this through. I mean, it was a big deal to even get invited. And he agreed, and him and my commanding officer was like, you know what, Riley, we'll let you go for 2 weeks. It's a success story. You've worked really hard. So that's a part of the story that people don't know, is I've had to prove myself for a year as a Marine. Like, I had to prove that like I could do hard things. I was capable as a lieutenant, and that I am, for lack of a better words, maybe deserving, but I put in the time. So when an opportunity arose, it was an easier yes. But I don't think any of us to this day had ever imagined what would come out of this. And every time I tell the story, I think about the leadership and, again, impact. My story is not for me. My story is for other people. And so anyone who's in any leadership position, it is very hard losing someone that works for you, that's under you, that is a high producer. But if they have an opportunity to soar and exceed, and it might hurt you temporarily, but it might benefit them in the long run, let them take it, because none of us knew at the time that I would have the accolades that I have now. And if it wasn't for those two men, Lieutenant Colonel Reese and Major Seameyer, I would not be where I was now. And the Marine Corps would not have made history with me being the first Marine that has done some incredible things. And I am forever grateful.
I think that's I want to get more into that in a second with just the Marine Corps ideas, and there's so much there. But yeah, the thing you said, the first female Marine Olympian. I'm right. Am I saying that right?
That's the goal.
That's the goal. Right.
Yeah.
Right. I understand. You're 11 months away. So I guess that's the thing, is explain, because I know every sport's different as far as how you qualify and tryouts and these things. What happens over the next 11 months? Because it's February of next year, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
February 20. So
to talk us through that.
Yeah. So right now I'm at the Olympic Training Center. We actually are doing round 1 of Olympic team trials at the end of March. There's 2 rounds. So essentially it depends on your position. I'm a pilot. So in the women's team, there will be 3 pilots that are named to the Olympic team. There are, however, 6 of us that are qualified. And to put in perspective, I believe all 6 of us are ranked top 30 in the world, I believe. So Team USA has incredible athletes, and we have depth, and there's 6 of us, and only 3 of us will make it. And to put in perspective, the girl who I saw that I was inspired for to join the team is still actively competing. She's the most decorated Black athlete in all of Team USA. So the competition within USA is absolutely incredible. It's the best of the best. So even to be on Team USA is like insane and incredible, and to be competing. So essentially the 6 of us are going head to head. We'll go head to head in March, and then we'll go head to head again in about October, November, depending on when ice is. And we'll duke it out to see who can get one of those 3 spots to be named to the team and then ultimately compete in Italy in February of 2026.
Very exciting stuff. I know you. Gosh, how do you think you do well? Pressure? Do you feel like you do well? When kind of like the game's on the line, that kind of thing. How do you process that?
I feel like that this is where the military has taught me more than I would have ever imagined. I was always a top level athlete, but softball was a sport of failure. So you had to learn how to fail a lot, but it's a different kind of level of resiliency that the military teaches you. And when you do hard things, that's how you get stronger. And the military forces you to do a lot of hard things, put yourself in a very uncomfortable positions and seeing how you're going to respond. What is your breaking point? And so what the military has taught me through all my training is how to absolutely thrive in chaos. And when things are hard, it actually is more fun for me. And so in a way, I love pressure. I welcome pressure because pressure is a privilege and I view it as a privilege. And that doesn't mean I don't get nervous. It doesn't mean my heart's not pounding. Trust me, 150 miles an hour sitting up on top of that track and with butterflies going nuts. But I'm able to use that and control it in a way that's positive and not, oh, what if things go bad? But instead be like, oh yeah, well, what if everything goes right? And here's what it will. And then I have the confidence and faith that shows through that pressure that I'm going to be okay no matter what. And it's going to be the Lord's will be done anyways. So if I'm meant to go to the Olympics, I will go to the Olympics. I have to put in the hard work and God produces the miracles. So if you put in the work and it's what's set for you, that'll be your path and destiny. And if not, I can look at my teammates, the 5 other ones, and be like, the best of us will represent the United States. And I can't think of a better way to have it. I want the best of the best. If I'm the best, then I will go compete. If I'm not the best and I got beat outright, then I got beat outright. And there's honor in that. And I think that's also what the military has taught me too, is that being able to look your opponent in the eye, have a fair fight, and let the winner, have the spoils.
All right, that's outstanding. Let's go maybe another 5 minutes or so, and I want to ask you some just about the Marine Corps. And the first thing that comes to mind is a few months ago, I went this trip to Vietnam, and I met these guys with these forward service officers, and I'm talking like, I didn't know this was an option in the Marine Corps. I never heard about this, and I'm hearing your story. I'm thinking, I don't think people think about, oh, I'm going to join the Marines and then go any kind of path that you've been on. I think it's interesting to think about really in the Marine Corps how many paths you can take, how many options there are, how you've created something that didn't exist before. Get your thoughts on that, just kind of how Marine Corps is rigid at times, but can be flexible and those kind of ideas.
Every Marine is trained as a rifleman, and that will never change. And there's certain things about the Marine Corps that I love that were enriched in history in our culture and how you're trained and honor, courage, and commitment and the leadership traits and principles, things that truly will never change. And everyone is to go through and embrace these characteristics. Love it. However, it's a choose your own adventure. And in the military, there are so many roles that people do to support the warfighter. And what people don't often understand, that I don't understand, is you think of the military and you think of frontline door kickers. And the percentage of the military that actually does that is very, very small. And that's also what I'm trying to explain to people is we have like finance officers in the military. We have medical personnel in the military. We have mental health specialists. We have like everything you could possibly think of. We have athletes. It's kind of one of those where it's like, it is, you choose your own adventure. You can go and you can support and you can do a lot of things. But if you can find something or find a path or know that there are paths there that are going to support an awesome organization to some capacity, you'll be able to excel in it. And so the amount of programs that there are, to your point, is incredible. Did you know that we send people to law school and then they become lawyers? And that is an incredible program that not many people know of, right? Like in the military, like we have athletes that we send that compete at the top Olympic level. Like, most people don't know that. We have qualifications that we give people. There's 3 that in the civilian world transfer over to include Lean Six Sigma and project management that will, in the outside world, are courses that are like hundreds of thousands of dollars that you get just being in the military. And so college, let's just talk about that for 5 seconds. People come in and they don't have their college degree. Like, you get your GI Bill. Like, there's so many things that you can do in the military that people don't realize. And that's what I really want to shine the light on. It's 250 years this year for the Marine Corps. And that's 250 years of excellence and war fighters and winners. But 250 years of people that have bettered themselves in their lives within the military by not using like it's transactional, but taking advantage of what's in front of them, what the military has to offer. And I think that's one thing that people need to get educated on. You want to go and you want to get your master's. Guess what? The Marine Corps pays for you to go and get your master's. You want to go live abroad and be a foreign affairs officer. You want to go work in Congress, or, be a administrative liaison and on the Hill. Like, you can go do that. The opportunities are absolutely endless. So one thing I will leave you with, that is a saying from a very famous Marine, Travis Manion. If not you, then who? And if you have something that you are dedicated on and you have a passion and you think that there's a purpose, you can blend them. If you don't do it, then who's going to do it? The answer is no one. The answer is you. The answer is you need to step up. You need to explore. For me, I can't think of a better job than being a Marine Corps officer. I can't think of something better than serving my country, than leading Marines that teach me so much about myself. So I lead them, but I learn from them every day, living all around the world, interacting with officers and people, and striving to protect the Constitution of the United States and maintain our freedom. And doing that while living an active lifestyle, by meeting incredible people and wearing the cloth that took a lot to earn my Eagle Globe and Anchor, but something that I would die to protect.
There is a link in the description of this episode where you can learn more or buy a copy of Captain Tejcek's book. Again, the title is If You Can Dream It, Be It. And a big thank you to Riley Tejcek for this conversation on Morrowtown, Tennessee. This podcast is a production of NewsChannel 9, Fox Chattanooga, and Sinclair Broadcast Group Chattanooga. I hope you join me again real soon.